Record the. All right, everybody, welcome to the next Prop Tech Genius Show. And today's genius, oh, we spent like 10 minutes. I do this all the time. I didn't even
Oh,
get how to pronounce your last name.
Coleman.
So it's Alexandra, and her last name is
Coleman.
Coleman. Oh, see, it was easy. I'm sorry. That is like way too easy. I should have just I haven't had to have my coffee yet. I know you're in the Middle East. I'm in the US. It's 8:30 in the morning and it's Monday. It's a
I
Monday. But
know.
thank you for coming on the show. This is how we were chatting before I hit record and we've got a lot of cool things to talk about today. This is going to be awesome. It's super cool. All right. So tell us kind of before we get into Azraq and what it does, tell us a little bit about your journey. Like how did you end up here? Where did you start?
Well, thank you very much, Amy, and thank you very much for having me, even though it is an interview. So, it's a bit of a different, it's not a completely relaxed, fireside chat, but I am
Ah,
delighted anyway to speak to you, meet you, and especially because my whole career, my whole background has been in real estate. And it started right from the beginning as a chartered electrical and smart buildings engineer, working on kind of, sublime projects, in the Himalayas, up in like high altitude deserts, designing real estate up there and PV systems, right through to working on Riyadh Metro, Marn Botanic Gardens, hotels, so anything and everything. And then I actually worked, so this was all with a huge company called Ove Arab. And then I worked with in their kind of startup ecosystem, and developed software as a service
mm,
solutions for the largest real estate developers in the UK called British Land.
mm,
And then I also worked on more kind of startup products, looking at how you can optimize Arab's global real estate portfolio as well.
mm.
So that was kind of my move from the huge corporate world into a startup ecosystem.
Yeah.
And off the back of that, I was approached to be chief engineering officer for a global carbons rating agency called B Zero Carbon.
Mm.
And in the last few years, well, it's actually 4 years, they've raised over $100 million. And I was their chief engineering officer.
That's awesome.
And interestingly, the VP engineering of B Zero Carbon now works with me as my CTO. So we
Oh,
have good
very
we have, we
cool.
have good history together. We love working fast and on really complicated kind of AI solutions.
Yeah.
So
So did so in the US, the carbon credit thing just doesn't seem like it took off, did it? But I'm assuming in Europe it was more prevalent there. Is it still the case?
So it depends. It
Yeah.
like when I started working for them in 2020, it did kick off.
Yeah.
There was a lot of ESG investing,
Hmm.
and like kind of money moving around the market. There was a huge push for compliance. And even in the US, yes, funny enough, some of our largest clients were things like Bank of Montreal.
Right.
So there was a lot of demand. And also in America, there's a huge demand for soil restoration carbon credits.
Right.
So actually, it's quite niche, but there was demand. However, with the latest like kind of political climate, it's slowed down.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
so there's less focus on the voluntary carbon market, but B Zero Carbon's still doing very well because they focus on Asia Pacific,
Mm.
where there's a huge demand in like aviation carbon credits and Japan as well. So I
No.
think they pivoted away from the US, looked where there is more funding, for the carbon ratings agency. But
Yeah.
interesting, as actually people should look at it because it's actually used as a trading tool. So a lot
Mm.
of people, for example, might invest in more higher risk carbon credits like blue carbon or
Hmm.
biodiversity, knowing that in, let's say, the next 5 to 10 years, their value might increase. And so they might hold on to them and then
Right.
sell them. So
Yeah.
it's quite an interesting trading tool as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of the few things that I mean, you can obviously invest in a REIT and that will kick you, but like there's not a lot of trading options in real estate. I mean, either besides buying the real estate or those kinds of things, but that's
Yeah.
yeah, but so that tax credits, people can they can buy those off
Yes.
the market too, right? and then, but yeah, and then or a REIT. Like those are your options.
I
Like
know.
you're going to invest that
Yeah,
way,
it
right?
is the it isn't it? It's not a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
tokenization is might change that, you know, where you can
Yeah.
part buy real estate and maybe people because I see a lot of tokenization in the Middle East
Yeah.
where you can part buy development, and I imagine that's to then sell on as might because it might be diversifying your risk.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but you're right, there's not so much a trade.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
I think
tokenization's gonna what I think is gonna need is you need a robust secondary market. In order for the advantage to tokenization is via just doing a syndication or buying shares in a fund or whatever it might be is the liquidity aspect, right? That's why you do tokenization because if you want to sell it off to your Aunt Mabel, and then you can get out, and that token tells you that now it's owned by Aunt Mabel, right? And but we don't have that secondary market here in the US, so that's why it's just kind of stalled and it's stuck. But I think, I think people get it. I think they need to come up with a different name. Don't say blockchain. Don't say
uh,
tokenization. Just don't call it something else. It needs a PR shift.
yeah, I agree. People are very dubious and very skeptical
Hmm.
of blockchain,
Yep.
any sort of online currency as well. And I think you're right. The market, that secondary ancillary market, is not ready yet.
Hmm.
It's not there.
Yeah.
Um, and and also there have been like fluctuations in the real estate market as well. So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it's I think there are many factors at play which impact that value.
I think once somebody like Goldman Sachs or somebody recognizes that there's opportunity there, then it'll people flood. You just need somebody big like that to start trading or providing a platform for that kind of trading.
Yeah, I think it's providing the platform, isn't it? The framework
Yeah.
of how you would trade it.
Yeah.
Um, because if you look kind of below the surface, you get trading on on construction materials.
Hmm.
You know,
That's true.
obviously, which so there it's almost like there is real estate trading, but indirect trading.
Yeah.
You know, and that's through those construction materials, which are volatile and the cost of construction goods is an all-time high at the moment.
I know.
Well, from what I've read anyway.
Oh,
Um,
crazy town. Yeah,
so
it's insane. And yeah, we could talk all day about tariffs and construction prices. I'm a former real estate developer, so I like it's in
really
my
understand it.
wheelhouse and my pain points. I still have, PTSD from doing construction.
And were you developing building to operate or building to sell? Or did
Building to
you
operate. Yeah,
building
mostly
to operate?
I was an developer operator. But yeah, that's kind of what I did way back in the day. I moved fully into tech now. So but I will always be a real estate investor. I think I will always like I am already looking for deals now. Like it's like it's totally ingrained in me to find new deals. So I'll probably get back into it when it makes sense. But yeah, but I'm in tech now. So I'm
I
here.
think
I'm in
I think
technology
it's
now.
important that I think to push forward the real estate sector, it's such an antiquated sector still, like industry
Yeah.
still, starting right from the beginning of design and construction. It's still you need you need that encouragement to be tech enabled, and there's still like a hesitancy to adopt it.
Oh,
I
it's because tech is really easy to adopt when you have all your systems and processes
yeah,
documented and you have everything's working like a machine, but we're so human dependent to get anything done in construction and real estate where and that's the problem. It's like when you're doing automation or digital transformation of anything, you have to do the hard work of actually, okay, what is the hell that we do and how do we do it? And we've got to like write it all down and spend
yeah,
time doing a lot of that. And so that's the barrier to adoption, I think. And so that's what you have. And real estate's just done it that way for 100 million years. And that's how we do things. And but I think people will get there once they realize, and I think AI is the enabler of all that, right? But once you realize the productivity gains that you can have with
yeah,
AI it makes it worth it to go through that process of documenting everything that you do so that you can now become AI enabled, right? Before it was kind of nice to have, but now I think it's really truly getting to the point where people recognize, oh, okay, we can, if we can become 80% more productive and we just went through the heartache of spending a couple of months figuring out how we do our stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it's worth it to people now.
But
Before.
as you said, that barrier to adoption is having that domain knowledge, because I
Yeah.
think it's so like niche specific,
Yes,
it's really deep in the domain. I think it's the products that are really successful, the ones that are built by people who've been in the industry, who really
for sure. Yeah.
understand those challenges. Because there are so many stakeholders at play. And that's what I saw in the Middle East, actually, when I was working with the largest UAE developers. And because the UAE is dominated by about 10, basically 10 developers. And that's the whole landscape in the real estate landscape.
10 people. That's all you got.
Yeah, it really is. So
Wow.
you just need to get in with a few, and then you're away. So they rely on giga projects. They're
Mm-hmm.
having a huge amount of assets under their portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly competitive because they're all new builds. They're all going to be grade A real estate.
Mm,
So what they're really looking, and they all build to operate, kind of like Amy, what you were saying you were doing. And so
mm-hmm.
they were really, really interested in their bottom line, that liability of that asset once it's up and running.
Yeah.
And that's where I came involved. I was modeling what their energy performance would be, how you
Yeah.
can improve it, how you can change it, running all like the physics-based models, and then coming up with cost scenarios. But I was doing this on an asset by asset basis, which is like
Wow. Yeah.
unbelievably slow. And anyone who ever listens to this will realize it takes ages and is incredibly complicated. Like I personally do not build the models. I cannot. I really can't do building the scripts. I have some
Yeah.
whiz kids
Yes.
who build those models. But I that's you can just see that like the time intensity of all of this. One model per building, one asset, and then you have to build it again to make
Mm-hmm.
it to simulate any changes. So and interesting that so I started thinking, there must be a framework where you can streamline this, and that's where Azraq came into it, because I'm trying to put myself out of a job, basically. So this is basically what the platform should be doing is optimizing everything that I used to do.
That's
Um,
awesome. Well, let's get into it. So show us what you're working on.
yeah, so what it comes down to is not a physics-based solution, it's a cloud-based solution to
Mm-hmm.
design and build smart, fast, but also sustainable real estate. And
Okay.
it's for developers. They will be the user. And there's really 3 points in the mission. One is understanding real-time data of the business, of the
Mm-hmm.
building, but then also enabling the developer to design and build and operate quickly and fastly. And then most importantly, it needs to be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
You still need to provide an optimal building. Just because it's fast, you can't compromise on quality. So there's
Right.
three of those most important things for Azraq. Um, and and it really comes back, like when you step back. I'm just trying to move. There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
Can you see it? Everything seems
Yes.
to move. Yeah,
Yeah,
there
there
we
you go
go.
right there. Yep.
Um, what it comes down to is that there's just wasted money in the real estate life cycle. And I think you probably understand this more than I do, is that you have your project costs. I already know what I was doing can be streamlined. So straight away, you are spending unnecessary amounts of money
Mm-hmm.
on that kind of energy management piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this energy and performance gap because um, the energy management tool is not fit for purpose, is not used enough, is not used consistently throughout the whole design and construction process. So it means when you come to fill your real estate assets with tenants, they're paying more for their OpEx, or you are paying more for your your utilities,
Right.
your service charges, and then you retrofit it. There's a huge market for retrofitting, but why didn't you just start with the problem, which is that your buildings aren't managed, through the design and construction process? So my whole tool is trying to be proactive. I'm starting from the beginning, and that's from concept, from the very first stage.
Yeah.
And it's a problem which affects your assets across the whole life cycle.
Right. So I think the big, yeah, so what you're addressing, kind of what I hear from you is like, so design happens. 3 years later, you might be able to push dirt. Like, like you go through these iterations. Like it just depends on the area you're in, maybe longer, maybe shorter.
Yeah, it depends.
But there's a gap between when it's designed and when it's actually built.
Yeah,
And then during the construction process, it changes because not everything works out,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then
of course.
and then all of that data is lost. And then
Yeah,
when you come to operate it, you're just like, okay, what the hell? I'm walking into this building. I don't even know what I
yeah.
have. Supposedly
Why
I
did
have this, and they just hand me a bunch of books, and this is what my building is. And then you have to spend a year figuring out your building.
Yeah. And then you have to start not get all over again, but then you have to think, okay, well, now we have to retrofit this. Or
Hmm.
occupiers, are like, wait, hang on, we committed to a pre-lease. You said the operation, the service charge and the maintenance charge
Yep.
and the utilities are
Yep.
going to be X,
Yeah.
10 to $30 per square meter. Hang on. Why am I paying more?
I know,
I'm
right?
Linklaters or a huge Deloitte, you're taking out hundreds of, thousands of square meters. So that dollar per square meter has a huge impact on their bottom line. So
Right.
either they'll be dissatisfied or they will move and you lose that tenant. So you lose the value on that asset. And then the investors, if you're a REIT, a real
Hmm.
estate investment trust, they've lost on their return as well.
Right.
So it doesn't just impact it's not just as impact on the environment, it's a really important financial impact as well.
Hmm.
And if your net operating costs increases, that impacts your exit yield as well.
Hmm.
So it has a huge, like, there's one metric of just how much energy your building uses, has a huge impact across the whole financial kind of landscape of your asset. And it all comes down to how you managing expectations, but modeling it so it actually accurately portrays how it's going to be used in real life and
Right.
how you can optimize it at every kind of design stage, just
Hmm.
using real-time data. So you can make sure that what you are doing on site or pre-site or commissioning is modeled in this platform, and then you can see how it deviates away from your set targets. And that's fine. Maybe it is meant to be using 3 times more, but at least you are managing the expectations of your stakeholders. You can understand why you're using more energy than anticipated, and then you can mitigate against it.
Hmm.
So it's about it's like empowering the developer to kind of make choices that will actually reduce their energy per square meter.
Interesting. Yeah. No, that's super cool.
So it's no, I probably don't need it for your readership or you because you understand how this works, but not everyone has even heard of energy modeling.
Yeah.
And a way I look at it as a metaphor is that 3D printing made product design very quick and easy. You didn't have to build the final product and then think, oh no, this doesn't work, go through an expensive process of
Right.
doing it again. That's what we're doing to building design. We're scrapping that very slow, like one model for one building. We're doing it rapidly and quickly with instant feedback.
Hmm.
And so what that does, it means it's highly collaborative. You can move much faster, um, and you can make those design decisions based on based on real-time data. You don't have to wait weeks or months to
Right.
build an energy model, and then you have to translate that into cost. This all does it for you. You can make a design decision, and then you can see the cost impact and approve it or not. And
That's
then ultimately it links into a green procurement framework where you check the procurement materials comply against the energy model again, because that's obviously a really important part of the construction process. So
Yeah, even in brownfield scenarios where you can, you can go in and build out a model for an existing. So I can see where, we have these. Freddie Mac has a program for multifamily residential where you can get a green improvement loan where but you
Okay,
have to do
yeah.
it before and after. And that's where modeling and my digital twins, like that's where that comes into play, right? You can do your energy modeling. I can tell you exactly how, all of your
Yeah.
window sizes, all your door sizes, and
What's
your
the
your
impact it has?
ethos and fascia. And if you were going to go swap it out, you could build out your material costs and all this other thing, right? So it's cool to see what the modeling can do and the simulations you can run, and then truly understand how you make the best decisions. I think the real estate
Yeah.
is kind of now understanding how to use data in really good and sophisticated ways. And I know that some real estate companies are, hiring data scientists. They finally got on the bandwagon. They kind of figured it
Yeah.
out. And like we need data scientists in our as part of our our team. And they're starting to hire them, which is great. Yeah.
And I think now the AI capabilities are there to
Oh
actually
yeah.
work with that data because it's very messy and fuzzy data. So I
Mm-hmm.
think up until recently, AI models struggled with
Mm-hmm.
working through the data. But it was too messy, too complicated. And
Mm-hmm.
now you have like large language model agents to check another
Right.
language model agent. It means that there's more validation and calibration. So that actually is proved. So I think it's now the right time to have that a real push with for AI
Yeah.
solutions because AI has improved so much. So for people who may not have heard of surrogate modeling, it's an incredible tool. It's probably is very similar to the one I know your digital twin learns off Revit models. It's the same idea,
Yeah.
but I'm not learning off Azraq's not learning off Revit models. We're learning off energy models. Um,
Exactly. I mean,
so
yeah,
it's
it's great.
same but different.
Yeah.
And and they're both absolutely really important bits of pieces of information because they're learning off the real thing. So the way we're building it now is with the Building Energy and Sustainability Laboratory in the University of Arizona, and we've got the
Mm-hmm.
director for that laboratory and his two PhD students building all these energy models,
That's great.
running all the different parameters, different options for different building typographies, and then they will use AI and large language models to learn off those real estate models. I mean, sorry, energy models.
Oh, very
And
cool.
then you have the model, and we're building it with clients in the Middle East.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, so it's like what we were talking about earlier. It's about having that real life data, to kind of validate it
Yeah.
and check it as well. So the first immediate cost saving you will have as a developer is you don't need to spend as much on consultants because it's and on energy modelers. So that's there's a huge cost saving.
Yeah.
And then if your building performs when you hand over and there's no surprises and you have optimized it throughout every stage of the design and construction life cycle, your OpEx will be reduced. And
Mm.
that's a significant saving. Um,
Very
and I
cool.
think I don't need to spend too much time about the size of the market, but really in America, there's a huge push for energy compliance modeling. So LEED, BREEAM, Energy Star, WELL, so all those certifications basically require
Mhm.
physics-based energy modeling. But if you can do up to 90% of it using Azraq to check and confirm the final design, and then just to tick the box for the final certification, then you build it on the energy model. There are
Mm.
huge savings in the compliance energy market. And our professor who's building it for us speaks and teaches at ASHRAE conferences
Yeah,
about the impacts of this
that's
for
awesome.
compliant energy modeling. So there's a huge opportunity there for savings. Um, and it's good. We're building it with a couple of the largest developers in the UAE at the moment. So we'll be using their historical data, and we'll do kind of scenario analysis to check, using Azraq for this versus, business as usual. What are those cost savings? And we're working on assets across a portfolio. So it's an important. The Middle East is the third biggest market, followed
Yeah.
by North America, and then Asia Pacific is the largest. But the US is incredibly important for us because that's where there's the biggest drive for green certifications, ESG compliant, and ESG compliant investment and real estate as well.
Mhm.
Less so than Asia Pacific. And I can keep you posted, but I'm now a member of the Industrial Decarbonisation AI Coalition, which is really exciting. So I'll be
That's very
speaking,
cool.
yeah, so I'll speaking to them because they're the ones that want to develop a green procurement framework that is rolled out with the Dubai government, and that's something that they'll be able to potentially use Azraq for, is linking that procurement
Great.
to energy targets.
Very cool.
So it's, as I already said, it's like a surrogate modeling platform. So very similar to how your platform works,
Uh-huh.
how your solution works. And you can have set ESG or sustainability financial targets. And then there's always tracked as you go through the construction life cycle to make sure that you're on target,
Hmm.
and any simulations and modeling that you do, it links directly back to your performance projections. So it's immediate, it's rapid, it's live. You don't have to wait on it, rebuild using energy modelers to rebuild it.
Right.
And it's based off an energy model. So the accuracy is within ASHRAE compliant accuracy levels as well.
What points are you checking? Like where are you in the construction phase? Or is it just through design and then as they've designed it, do you also interject during construction as changes are made or not?
Yeah, I want that because I actually have we could just move around. I have it here. So yeah, so this is for example a sample of a potentially like a 6 or 10,000 square meter building in the UAE. So it's cheap.
Hmm.
It's cheaper. They have cheaper delivery costs. In the US, it'd be much more expensive. I realize
Yes.
that. No, I know. It's just labor is much cheaper in the Middle East. So
Okay, good to know.
then we've got a large difference. So it's often can be like $1,500 per square meter
Wow.
in the Middle East. And I know in the US it's probably about 5,000 or
Yeah.
something about
Mm-hmm.
that, isn't it? I mean, it does fluctuate. But the point is that across we can check construction aligns against that energy model. So that can be procurement. It can also be commissioning as well. So
Okay.
as that data comes in, and the way that will work, our CTO will have integrations with the core third parties that they use for
Hmm.
these services. So at the moment, we are building out that capability. So the moment we're focusing on the designs, that's the Revit, the
Yeah.
AutoCAD, any BIM tools,
Hmm.
the capabilities uh, for procurement it could be in the Middle East, it'll probably be a company called Protenders.
Hmm.
So we'll make strategic third-party integrations to pull in that data to be able to then interrogate how that impacts the energy,
Hmm.
the energy and the financial metrics. And then I've looked at 1 to 2 years after operation, because that's when you have to comply for
Right.
certain certifications like net zero. So net zero is especially you have to make sure that the amount of energy that you consume is offset with renewable energy. And so this tool will be part of supporting that
Very
framework
cool.
base essentially. But it's exciting. It's a big project given the amount of integrations it needs, because you're dealing with
Oh,
multiple.
trust me, girlfriend, I'm totally with you there. Oh, my poor CTO hates my guts because I'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah, we got to integrate with this person too.
I know. I
Like,
know.
Amy, I'm not Barry Poppins. I can't just wave my wand or whatever and just snap my fingers and then we're integrated. I'm like, I know, but I don't care. We got to integrate. Sorry.
Just make it work. We need this data. I know, yeah, I think every CTO probably will hate us or hates me anyway, because I don't really understand, the complexity.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
you know, they are the magicians to
They
making it
are.
happen.
They are. Yeah, actually, we ended up building a an integration software just for us so that we could, because we had to
That's really
integrate with
good.
so many different people.
Yeah.
And so it just made our lives easier. So we just, I spent development costs, with somebody to build out integration software for us. And, I'm just like, oh, thank the Lord. Because
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
what
a
Oracle
pain,
does.
huge pain. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And do you see, have you seen that? Has that made a massive difference having your
Yeah.
own
Yes. Just
having your own integration
the
software?
amount, the ease at which we can. So it used to be, yeah, and it was for us, it was like, some people are smart because they made their software integratable, like they were built like, past
For that
2017 or
reason.
whatever. And so they like our integration points are like 3 or whatever it might be, right? And then some
Yeah,
people were pre 2017 when they weren't even thinking about integrations and their integration points are like 25. You're like, oh my
I know.
God, just shoot
Oh,
me in the head. Like,
I know.
seriously.
No, 'cause it
So,
needs to be seamless.
yeah, you need it. And then it's a lot with you and I, we spend time integrating with hardware, and there is no universal standard with the damn
I
IoT
know.
device. And so then you end up
I know.
going,
I know.
oh my God. So, yes,
I know,
it
and
was
all the different
huge
and the
pain.
different data formats as well. It is complicated, but
It
it's the
is.
only way of making decisions is having the
I know.
data is the data.
I know.
Unfortunately, there's no way of escaping it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So we did, and it has improved. It like, and we don't have a lot of customers yet, but the one, so we'll have like we did the 2 pilots and the post one after, and it was much smoother. Like it was a whole lot easier. So I did, we did. It was great for us to
and
do
you
that, and we'll
still are you
probably keep developing it and
I
making
was
it
about
better.
to say, as you asked my question, I was going to say, are you going to be carrying on on developing it?
Yes. Yeah, we'll probably continue to develop it. I think it becomes, especially because we're similar to you, that we aggregate a lot of data, and because we do that, and we're aggregating data from hardware, from other softwares,
Yeah.
from the other like cameras and security systems, and there's just like a million devices that we're pulling in together into one
No,
model. And yeah, the different kinds of standards and different things that we have to integrate with, and then basically taking that and then converting it into one. That's what we ended up doing, is taking the data, no matter where it comes from, and then working our magic to convert it into a single type of data. So then that comes to us, right? That's what we ended up doing. And Mike is great. Mike is awesome, and he worked on that project for us, and like, yay.
and like, do you think that you'll every year have to
Yes.
upgrade and
Oh,
create
yeah.
and
Some
new
knucklehead's gonna create some device that everybody wants and it's not integratable. Yes, we're gonna have to change this, like revise this probably
But
every.
surely there should be a common kind of like
Yeah, I know.
language
Mm-hmm.
ontology. I remember this in our the company I used to work with.
Mm-hmm.
I was working the smart buildings teams, what literally what you used to be doing, all the kind of the all the different languages and aggregating all that data, and I'm amazed there's still no standard
Oh,
for
I know. I know.
IoT
I mean, the
devices.
the good thing is that the US, like at the Prop Tech Council, we're trying to push for that. We're like, but no one's listening yet. I mean, once we get big enough and we have enough sway, we can go, knock it off, man. Make it on
Have
this.
one.
Like, pick one. Just pick one. So we can,
I
so we can
know.
have these, but it's super complex. And so you're just gonna have this middleware that goes in between that kind of helps.
But maybe it's a
Yeah,
opportunity, which is why they don't want to make it
maybe.
um streamlined, because that middle
And we
market is a
still
market.
have Android, and we still have Apple and PC and Android and iPhones, and there's no standard there. But yeah, but people figure that
It's
out.
in it's interesting though, and I think as AI improves the
Hmm.
large language models of being able to simulate
Yes.
that data, and then you have another AI agent to check that AI one.
Yep.
Like that
Mhm.
whole process will be streamlined. It'll become more accurate.
Yes.
Um, it's just a slow start originally for the tech
Yeah.
as you
For
build out
sure.
that
So you have your
capability.
AI agent that's collecting the data, and then you have your
Yeah,
AI cleaning agent that's cleaning the data
yeah,
and then showing you the
yeah,
errors or possible errors and red flags. And then you got that AI manager
yeah.
that leads that whole AI team. That is great. Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, eventually that's where it goes, right? And I think it's great. And that whole process in itself is a completely different product. I'm just hoarding it for myself. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing for sure.
It is, um, and when I spoke to my CTO about it, who's absolutely fantastic and built up a carbon rating agency platform which didn't even exist. There wasn't
Right.
such a thing, so he's very good at huge amounts of data and like messy data. But actually, when it came to what Azraq was doing, surrogate modeling, so learning off energy models, it was not his domain. And that's where you need, I think, in real estate, often someone who's got that domain. Well, for us anyway, because it's
Yeah.
built of energy model, physics-based energy models. That's where we've got, as you can see here, Dr. Zhang, who's absolutely superb,
That's
because that's his
awesome.
whole thesis, and he's got
Yeah.
two PhD students, as I was saying, who specialize in AI and building energy modeling. So we've got
That's
the very
so cool.
best. Yeah, and they're building it with their laboratory, so it has really high performing computers,
So
which is fantastic.
let's talk a little. Let's scroll a little bit because I that's what I do. You can tell I have ADD. Now, I think every founder has a little bit of ADD in them. So are you licensing that technology from the University of Arizona? Is that how you're getting your? Is that how you're
No,
doing?
the contract it's going to be a contracted to me because they're building the
Oh,
models for for me.
oh, that's great.
For
Okay, that's
Azraq,
all.
not me, for Azraq, sorry.
Oh,
For
for Azraq.
Azraq.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's a contract with them because we'll be using data from our clients, based out in the Middle East.
Okay. I mean, it's to think about from a startup, it's great because you got to get your product developed somehow. So if you can use a university like that, it's perfect, right? I mean, it's like you're gonna pay some developer, but why not pay like PhD researchers at
Yeah.
a university to help you? That's a fabulous idea. That's
No,
great.
it's good. And it means they use it for their research. They have such
Right,
vested interest in it as well. Like
right.
they are genuinely interested in this in this problem. And they have what you probably know about. Well, energy models take so much processing, like
Yeah,
processing costs.
yeah.
They're unbelievably expensive.
Yeah.
So it seems that's actually about 67 grand.
Oh, for sure. If you got
They,
the
they,
university who's
yeah.
got yeah, they've got the GPUs they
Yeah,
can
yeah,
play with.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
I will
you
tell
have
you another
advantage.
really cool thing for being a startup is if you get a part of NVIDIA's Inception program, which we are, which is great because you get
Okay.
like $250,000 in hosting credits and you get to be on their GPUs building out your models. So when this one runs out, I would go to the NVIDIA program, see if you can get in because
Okay.
it's an amazing thing that NVIDIA does that
Okay.
allows these AI startups to build because that's the most expensive thing. You
Yeah.
can't build the models unless you have a GPU to kind of work on.
Yeah.
Some of the AI large language models are getting smarter, like Llama, where it doesn't require those big, heavy chips,
Yeah.
right? So Llama's pretty cool. Meta came
Yeah.
up with
Llama's
that.
good.
I've got a friend of mine who's coming out with a different language model that doesn't require as much processing power too. But yeah, but even then, they all got to learn. So, but yes, it's super interesting. But yes, it's nice. I'm just
Okay.
saying it's
That's good to
completely
know.
nice to
NVIDIA.
have that.
And okay, I didn't know about that. So thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah,
Good to
you're
know because
welcome.
the University of Arizona will have other programs to do. So they're not just there waiting for me. So I'll have to look elsewhere after this.
I
No,
know,
that,
right? For sure.
that's
No,
really
I'm with you.
helpful.
I mean, like my hosting credits with NVIDIA are going to burn off soon too. So I'm like, what's the next phase? So I'm working with some of the data since I serve the data center industry, some of the I'm like, hey, I just need a blade. Like, I don't need a whole rack. Just give me a
I
little
know,
corner.
tiny
Yeah,
sliver.
too tiny. I'm a startup. Don't charge me a lot of money, please. You know?
I hope they're forthcoming.
Oh, yeah. And I think that honestly, truly, in the data center industry, that's a really good market opportunity. And they realize that. Like for all these AI startups that are coming out, having a smaller data center that's AI driven, but you're not a hyperscale. We only need a little bit of compute power because we're just getting started. But to grow with those, I think like I was talking with Sean Farney from JLL and Jay from H5, they realize that that's a huge need at the moment. And I think there'll be those opportunities available for us little AI startups that are needing compute, right? So yeah.
Okay. No, it's good to know. It's good to think about.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right. So where do you go from here? Are you going to stay in the Middle East? Is that your plan? Is that where you're going?
No.
No?
No, because it's as an real estate landscape, once it is dominated just literally, I'm joking, by about 10 to 15 developers. So I would start with the UAE and then move into Saudi Arabia where there are vast giga projects, and that's where there's going to be that's where I'm going to see the biggest savings for them because they build to operate,
Mm-hmm.
and then a way of making them competitive is reducing that service charge and those utility
Right.
charges as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to focus on the KSA on year two, and you know those giga projects are going ahead, but there are challenges within them as well.
Yeah.
And I think if they can actually deliver what they're promising, I think my platform will be incredibly important as an evidence for like the first one of the very first evidence-based platforms for them, so they can make the promises about being leading in this sustainability, leading on these
Yeah.
certifications, this OPEX charge, and then our platforms are used as the evidence tool, so it has
Very
that
good.
assurance that
Yeah.
it mitigates that risk. And a lot of the Middle East relies on pre-leases.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, these giga projects are trying to sell, not even sell, lease plots of land
Mm-hmm.
to manufacturers, to businesses in the Far East, in
Right.
America. But if we can say that you have this platform to monitor your bottom line, it should help with their pre-leasing.
Yeah, it
Um,
makes total sense. I think now most of the development that's happening, any development, any asset class, it doesn't matter. They want at least 70% of at least pre-leased before they'll
yeah.
push any dirt. And so I think it's a great thing. But even if the US, the predominant developers are not owner operators. The predominant developers
Mm,
are like they develop it and they sell, they get at least up to like 60, 70% and they sell it, right? So
yeah.
the long-term vision of is it energy efficient really hasn't been a thing. And that's the big, huge disconnect, I think, here in the US is like we build it, that's our horizon is 2 years. We're going to build it, we're going to lease it to a certain point, and we're going to flip it and sell it to
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah.
So we don't really care about the long-term operational costs. But
No,
I think if the tenants have the big sway, if they won't come in, because if you can certify the initial tenants anyway, if you could
yeah, yeah.
certify that the OpEx costs are going to be lower and you can actually prove that case, I think that that probably will close the who cares about it loop, because right
Yeah,
now,
but
yeah, yeah.
yeah, because they might not care about the environment, fine, but what they might care about is their leasing rates,
Exactly, exactly.
leasing
That's where they'll
velocity.
care because they cannot
That's where
keep
they'll care.
it. And it's their risk model. It's how they build. So they will their risk model is we know we can build it and this is our forte and we can build it, get it to 70% and flip it. And that's what we know how to do. The land people do their piece and the land people
Yeah,
know how to mitigate risk from a zoning and all these other horizontal construction pieces. And then they come in and do their part and then the operator comes in and does their part, right? And so it's just kind of silly, but the data gets lost between this one to this one to this
I
one to
know.
that one, and
No,
we gotta make that a little more seamless. I mean, that's kind of my goal. Hopefully, we can do that with twins, but I think but I think from the energy standpoint, because at the end of the day, the ending operator, shouldn't have to retrofit their building
no,
get it to
that's what I
operate
mean.
at a level they can lease it at, right? I mean, the first year, people are going to go, ooh, this is so pretty. I'm going to lease it. And so they'll get that 70% lease rate because it's brand new and it's in a cool area of town and they like the amenities or whatever. But
Yeah,
then over time, they're like, holy hell, we're spending this amount of money
yeah,
on
yeah.
this. And then they'll start looking
Right.
elsewhere, right? So then it's,
Yeah.
yeah, then
No, no,
it's
no.
not,
And then you
yeah,
lose money, or you have to pay expensive retrofits. So that's
exactly.
why I am trying to like mitigate
Yeah,
against that.
yeah, I
And as
totally
you
get
said,
it.
like certifying the OpEx is it's like evidence-based approach,
Right.
and they can have access to the platform from day one. So if they commit to a pre-lease when when you first break ground,
Mm-hmm.
you have complete transparency over
Yeah.
their future rental property, which is super important.
Yep.
So the UA and then the US. So you asked me, am I going to stay in the Middle East? The answer is no, because the US is a huge
Mm.
market.
Yeah, for sure.
Not only in terms of just pipeline construction work,
Mm-hmm.
but they also have a huge demand for these certifications. So there's a huge amount of use on energy modeling, and
So
that's what I'm trying
are you
to say.
focused on what kind of asset classes are you focused on? Is it just office industrial or do you look, it doesn't matter what you're doing?
So it's a good question, and maybe you started like this as well. Where it works, what we've got funding for now, or what I'm getting funding for now, is we're going to build three building typographies. So probably offices, retail, and industrial,
Okay.
like one type of industrial building.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll build them and validate them and calibrate them so they're accurate enough for those asset classes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the doctor, our Dr. Zhang has done case studies in Colorado on cities and how you do it. So even in a city, there might be 14 types of reference surrogate models that you have to build.
Right.
So three is not enough,
Right.
but it's the proof that it works. It's the proof that there's used. And
Awesome.
then I will expand massively and
Yeah.
build out all those reference models. So it becomes a scalable solution.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a deep, deep blue ocean in real estate and doing AI and modeling because you can go, you're at the same, I could do anything. I can go anywhere, any asset class. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. We can do any, you're the same way. It's like, I don't, everybody uses energy. We use 40% of the world's energy in real estate and construction does. So, there's a lot of
So,
room.
so part of our research question is how many parameters do we need to model to impact the energy usage intensity by 80%?
That's awesome.
I'm not trying to completely get rid of all of energy modeling. They have a very
Right.
important use. But what I'm trying to do is make it accessible to all developers. So those smaller developers who don't want to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for an energy modeler, what they could do is use the platform and therefore reduce their energy usage. You know, and because we've modeled the top 20 parameters that affect 80% of their energy intensity.
Yeah. Great.
I'm trying to make it a scalable solution.
That's awesome.
Um,
That's great. That's
and I
fabulous.
think that's really important because so many developers don't adopt or don't use energy models because of the complexity is another whole package of work, which just costs a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, their buildings are not optimized. So I'm trying to poach some customers who already use energy modeling.
Yep.
They'll just save money. But then the other side, I'm also trying to have new adopters
Right.
into because they will optimize energy, reduce their OpEx, have pre-leases, and impact their exit yield. So I'm trying to hit two types of customers.
That's awesome. That's great. For sure. Yeah. Well, it's so good to have you in the council. This is like awesome. This is so
Yeah,
cool.
no,
I'm so
my
glad you
pleasure.
joined. This is fabulous. Yeah, for sure. There's so many ways you can connect and all those things, but we're at the end of or getting close to the end of our hour. Look at that. See?
Yeah, we
I told
are.
you it's gonna go
It
fast.
it's a good. It was as far as interview goes. It's probably one of the better ones I've had.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
less interrogated than how an interview
Yeah.
could go. So thank you.
Exactly. Exactly. I like it to be a conversation. Everybody's like going, I need to know the questions you're going to ask me. I'm like, no, no, no. You understand? It's a conversation. I'm going to have a conversation with you. That's it. That's how it goes. And so
No,
everybody's game, the more structured people who have to know and like going, how are you a founder? Like, I don't understand. You can't be a founder if you have to go like this with your leg, with your
Yeah,
day.
no, no, no.
I
I
know.
mean,
Yeah, it's
every day
crazy.
of a founder, something is different or
I
not
know.
what you expect.
All the time, for sure. Well, if somebody would like to get a hold of you, how could they do that?
I have a website under construction. It does work though, and there's a contact page there.
Awesome.
And I also have a LinkedIn page, Azraq Limited.
Hmm.
They can also get in touch with me at Alexandra at azraq.ai.
Oh, there you go. Well, see, that was easy.
Please, anyone is welcome to get in touch just for a chat or to know more, um, steal some trade secrets and all of that. You know, anything. Happy to have a chat with anyone.
That's awesome. That's great. So glad to have you in the council. This is awesome. And thanks for coming and watching the show, everybody.